Some forms of depression stop your life. Dysthymia can do something much harder to recognize. It lets your life continue while quietly taking the life out of it. You get up, you work, you answer messages, you care for other people, you may laugh, you may achieve things. And from the outside, you seem fine. While inside, almost everything requires an enormous effort. Joy appears briefly and fades quickly. Rest rarely feels restorative. And the future feels like another list of responsibilities. Perhaps you've told yourself, other people have it worse. I'm still functioning. This is simply who I am, and that final sentence is a trap. Because when depression lasts for years, it can begin to feel like your personality. Today, in this video, we will look at 7 signs of this quiet, persistent form of depression. The 7th is especially important. And then I will show you a simple 3-part practice that can help you begin moving toward more energy, connection, and hope. 1 degree at a time. What is dysthymia? Dysthymia is the other name for what clinicians now call persistent depressive disorder. It is a long-lasting form of depression. In adults, a depressed mode is present for most of the day, on more days than it is absent, for at least 2 years. Other symptoms may include low energy, changes in sleep or appetite, low self-esteem, difficulty concentrating, difficulty making decisions, and feelings of hopelessness. These symptoms are sometimes described as milder than the symptoms of major depression. And that word milder can be misleading. Milder in one moment can still mean deeply painful over several years. Imagine carrying a very heavy suitcase for 20 minutes. And now imagine carrying a lighter suitcase for 10 years. Which suitcase has a greater impact on your life? There is no simple calculation. Intensity matters. Duration matters. The opportunities you stop pursuing matter. As years spent feeling distant from your own life matter. Persistent depressive disorder can create serious impairment, even when you continue functioning. Sign 1. You function through pressure. And the first sign is easy to overlook. You keep going. You meet deadlines, you go to work, you care for your family, you solve problems. You show up when other people need you. And from the outside, this looks like strength. And inside, your functioning may depend on constant pressure. You move because you fear disappointing people. You complete tasks because failure feels unbearable. You stay busy because slowing down allows the heaviness to catch up with you. Your life continues. Your inner experience receives very little attention. And this is why functioning and feeling well are 2 different things. You can be capable, reliable, and deeply depleted. Sign 2. Good moments barely reach you. You can still enjoy certain experiences. You may laugh with a friend, watch a good movie, eat something you like. spend time in a beautiful place. And for a moment, you feel lighter. And then the feeling disappears. It leaves almost no emotional trace. Other people seem to carry a pleasant experience with them. You return quickly to the familiar grayness. And this can feel confusing. You know that something was enjoyable, you struggle to feel nourished by it. Life begins to feel like a series of brief interruptions in the heaviness, rather than a source of vitality. Sign 3. Rest rarely restores you. You sleep for 8 hours and you wake up exhausted. You take a weekend off and still feel depleted. You cancel plans to protect your energy, and the additional time brings you very little relief. This happens because exhaustion has different layers. Your body may need sleep, your mind may need relief from constant self-pressure. Your emotional system may need safety, connection, movement, and meaningful experiences. Lying down may help your muscles. It may leave the deeper exhaustion untouched. So you rest. You feel almost the same, and then you criticize yourself for having so little energy. And that criticism adds another burden to the fatigue. Sign 4. You describe yourself harshly. Listen to the language you use about yourself. I'm lazy. I have no discipline. I'm boring. I'm too sensitive. I never finish anything. I have always been a negative person. These sentences, so thoughts, they may feel like facts. They may be interpretations shaped by years of low energy, reduced motivation, and disappointment. Imagine running every day with a heavy backpack. Eventually you may conclude, I'm simply a slow runner. You forget the backpack. Persistent depression can work in the same way. You judge your performance while overlooking the weight you have been carrying. A way more helpful question is, what has helped life, or what made life require so much effort? And yes, that question creates curiosity. And curiosity opens a door that shame keeps closed. Sign 5. Your life becomes smaller. Persistent depression often shrinks life slowly. You stop contacting certain people, meeting them. You give your activities that you've once loved away. You postpone trips, you decline invitations, you choose the familiar stuff because new experiences require more energy. Nothing dramatic has to happen. Your world simply becomes a little narrower each year. At first, this may feel like sensible energy management. And over time, fewer experiences provide pleasure, connection, and confidence. And then the smaller world, your life, seems to confirm the belief, nothing really interests me. And this creates a powerful cycle, a negative one. Low energy reduces activity, reduced activity creates fewer rewarding experiences, fewer rewarding experiences reduce hope and motivation, and Reduced motivation makes the next step feel even harder. Sign 6. Your duties are clearer than your desires. Ask yourself, what do you have to do this week? You probably have an immediate answer. And now ask, what would you generally enjoy? What do you really love? What are you curious about? What would you love to experience more often? And I guess that answer may take longer. Persistent depression can move a person from living to managing. You organize responsibilities, you solve urgent problems, you meet expectations. Your own preferences gradually disappear from view. And eventually, life becomes an efficient system for getting through the day. And because you continue functioning, few people recognize the price. Perhaps even you yourself overlook it. Sign 7. You believe it is your personality. And this is the most important sign. You barely remember feeling different. Perhaps the lower mood began during adolescence or early adulthood. Perhaps it has been with you for so long that it feels like your natural emotional climate. You say, I've always been this way. I'm simply a serious person. Enthusiasm has never been my thing. This is just my personality. That belief can delay support for years. People usually seek help when they notice a change. When suffering feels like identity, they expect themselves to live with it. So here's the central question. Are these qualities truly your personality? Or are they the shape your personality has taken while living with persistent depression? So two very different possibilities. Your current emotional state may feel familiar. Yes. Familiarity is different from identity. Have that in mind. When anxiety and dysthymia occur together, that's possible. Many people with persistent depression also experience anxiety. And this combination can feel especially exhausting. Anxiety says something could go wrong. Depression says changing anything requires too much energy. Anxiety keeps you alert. Depression makes action feel difficult. You want connection, and social contact feels demanding. You want change, and uncertainty feels threatening. You want rest, and your mind continues scanning for problems. The result can be a life that feels tense and flat at the same time. You remain prepared for danger while gradually losing contact with possibility. And this deserves careful attention. Support may need to address both sides. The anxious activation and the depressive withdrawal. A professional assessment creates clarity. Recognizing yourself in this video is a starting point. It is an invitation to explore your experience more carefully. A qualified mental health professional can look at how long these symptoms have been present, how they affect your work, relationships, health, and daily life. whether anxiety, trauma, sleep problems, medications, physical conditions, or another mental health condition may be involved. A careful assessment also considers periods of unusually elevated energy, activity, or mood. Those experiences may point toward a bipolar spectrum condition and influence treatment decisions. It's important to have in mind a diagnosis is a map. It gives your experience context. It helps separate symptoms from identity, and yes, it supports better choices. Treatment can help even after many years. The length of time you have struggled says very little about your capacity for change. Persistent depressive disorders, they can be treated. Psychotherapy may help you recognize and change patterns that maintain depression. And these patterns can include withdrawal, harsh self-criticism, hopeless predictions, chronic self-pressure, unresolved emotional experiences, and a lack of rewarding activity. And medication can also be helpful for some people. The right approach depends on your personal symptoms, health, preferences, history, and previous treatment experiences. Progress may arrive more quietly than you expect. You answer a message with less resistance, for example. A conversation feels more meaningful. You become curious about something. A task requires less effort. You make a plan and part of you expects to enjoy it. And these shifts may look small from the outside. Inside, they represent the return of possibility. Action can come before motivation. Because this is important. Depression often encourages you to wait. Wait until it's better. When I have more energy, I will go outside. When I feel hopeful, I will contact someone. When motivation returns, I will begin. In many cases, that's what I learned in therapy, the sequence works the other way around. A small action becomes an important step. It comes first. And that action creates a new experience. And the new experience gives your brain fresh information. And fresh information can support the next action. Now, this principle is known as behavioral activation. You choose a small, realistic activity that offers connection, achievement, pleasure, or meaning. And the aim is movement. You're giving your system evidence. Something is still possible. The 1 degree brighter practice. Here's a simple 3-part practice. I use it whenever everything feels too large, too much. First ask, what could help my body feel 1 degree steadier? Perhaps a glass of water, a nutritious meal, daylight, a shower, gentle movement, fresh air, or 10 quiet minutes without additional demands. And then ask, what could help me feel 1 degree more connected? Perhaps one honest message. Sitting near someone you trust. spending time with an animal, talking with a therapist, or allowing another person to understand how you're truly feeling. Then ask, what could make today feel 1 degree more meaningful? Perhaps completing one manageable task, reading one page, listening closely to one song, creating something, learning something, caring for a plant, or helping another person in a way that respects your own energy. Choose one action. Keep it below 10 minutes, and then pay attention. Your mood may shift, your energy may shift. Perhaps you simply prove that movement remains possible, and that matters too. Measure progress through repetition as well as emotion. Some of the most important changes begin before you can clearly feel them. Separate your identity from the condition. Language can help. Instead of saying, I'm hopeless, say, I'm experiencing hopelessness. Instead of, I'm lazy, say, my energy and motivation have been low. Instead of, I have no personality, say, I've spent a long time in a depleted state. This creates psychological distance. You become the person observing the experience. And the person observing the experience is already larger than the experience. The condition may influence your thoughts, energy, and behavior. It can never contain the whole of who you are. You deserve more than functioning. Perhaps you have lived this way for so long that another experience feels difficult to imagine. Perhaps people admire how reliable you are. Perhaps you have become highly skilled at carrying pain quietly. That ability says something about your strengths. It says very little about the quality of your inner life. You deserve more than completing responsibilities, more than appearing fine, more than reaching the end of another day. You deserve moments that truly reach you, rest that restores you, connection that feels alive, and a future that feels open again. Think of a room with the lights turned down. You have lived there for years. You know where every piece of furniture stands. You've learned to move through the room without thinking, and perhaps you begin believing that the whole world looks like this. And then one day, you recognize this is a room. This is an experience. This is a condition. And the light can change. Gradually, through support, through treatment, through connection. Through small, repeated actions. And through a kinder understanding of everything you have carried. Familiarity and destiny are two different things. You're more than the emotional state you have lived in. And your life can become larger again, 1 degree at a time. If you recognize yourself in this video, consider speaking with a qualified mental health professional. And please write one word in the comments. Functioning flatness, exhaustion, or identity. Which part feels most familiar to you? Your answer may help another person realize, I'm not alone. When you are experiencing thoughts of suicide or you feel unable to stay safe, please call someone to help you. It depends on the area where you are. In a life-threatening emergency, call the local number. Subscribe for practical ways to understand anxiety, depression, trauma, and the nervous system. Here we turn understanding into realistic steps towards safety, freedom, and a life that feels like your own again. I'm Carsten Lock.